Want to see me do something cool? Want to see me do it again? Want to see me do it a third time? So it is currently winter in Australia and my home has really bad insulation, so I've been really feeling the cold. To warm myself up a bit and to fit in with the Northern Hemisphere summer, I've decided to draw Gen 3 aka the Hoenn Pokemon from memory. Now, I've done this before with Gen 2 and Gen 1 in the past, you may have seen those videos, but for Gen 3, I was starting to get a little bit worried if I could actually do it, because, well, I've drawn Gen 1 Pokemon plenty of times, and I've drawn all of the Gen 2 Pokemon before, but a lot of the Gen 3 Pokemon I've never drawn before, and this is where design started to get a little bit more complicated. So join me today as I'll be going through and drawing these Pokemon from memory as best as I can, and we'll see how it turns out. So starting off, I was really intimidated by this challenge. As I mentioned, I haven't drawn a lot of these Pokemon ever, and doing it without any reference is definitely very hard. But in the end, I was honestly pretty surprised of how they turned out. I got the shape and design for most of them pretty accurately. What I struggled most with was the patterns and colors for some of them, and a few of the Pokemon I did just kind of screw up entirely. But here is the initial sketch I did. I just did really loose, rough drawings, just trying to get as many ideas as I could down on paper, basically what I could remember them as. Some of them were pretty good and transferred over to the final drawing, whereas others were just horrible. Like Delcatty, what even is that? Camerupt is basically non-existent there, same for Grumpig. Like, a few of these Pokemon are really, really loose because I just didn't really know what to do. I then went and decided to do a cleanup pass of sketching them and redrawing them and refining them a bit more. Here I actually took the time on a lot of the drawings, a lot of the Pokemon, and really thought about design elements with them, and I got most of them pretty accurately here. I was going to do another pass of clean line art, but I realized that I was actually pretty happy with a lot of these sketches, so I pretty much just went back, cleaned up a few of them, and then went to coloring. So let's take a look at that. Boom! With the color, I think they look pretty good. Here's what they look like finalized. I remember Gen 3 as being very tropical and warm, so I tried to have pretty vibrant colors, but I realized a lot of the Pokemon here have greens and blues. That's a pretty dominant trend amongst all of them. So it actually gives it more of a cool color palette overall. I'd say compared to my Gen 1 and Gen 2 drawings, this sits at about in the middle for me. Gen 2 I think was my least favorite out of all of them because I went a bit too fluoro with the colors. The Gen 2 designs are really simple, but it's hard to capture that simplicity, so if you make something wrong, it's more noticeable. And Gen 1 I just had the best memory for them, so they're most accurate and I had a lot of fun stylizing them. For these guys I am still actually really surprised of how I did them, and I'm pretty happy. But I'll talk about it a bit more as I play the time-lapse over myself drawing them. So for Gen 3 and Hoenn, I'd probably say that they are my second or third favorite region, and my second favorite set of Pokemon. When I first got into Pokemon, Gen 4 was my first generation. I started with Pokemon Platinum, and then I played Pokemon Soul Silver, which got me into the Johto region and then later the Kanto region. So at the time, Hoenn was the last region that I played, so I have a lot of fond memories with it. To me, it always seemed very distant and far off and unique in regards to Pokemon and region layout, and it was the only one I played that was not on the DS, so it also looked graphically quite different. But I got a copy of Pokemon Sapphire at the end of grade 3. I purchased it off eBay. And if you know anything about GBA carts on eBay in the 2000s, it was a fake bootleg copy. So it would often delete my save file pretty regularly, and I got pretty mad at that because I didn't realize it was fake and I had bad memories tied to that. But I look back on that now fondly, so Hoenn is still pretty nostalgic to me. I've always had a hard time deciding which Pokemon from Hoenn is my favorite. Could it be Mudkip since it's my favorite starter from the region? I really like Sableye a lot, and I like Vigoroth a lot as well, but I've never properly used a Slacking, so I've never really used that line to its fullest potential. But I think I've now decided that Breloom is actually my favorite Hoenn Pokemon. And that's because Shroomish was actually my first ever shiny. You see, I got it on that bootleg copy, and it is lost to time now since it deleted the save files pretty regularly. But I used a Breloom and it was shiny and I really enjoyed it, and I also had a bunch of bootleg Gen 3 Pokemon toys that I bought off eBay as well, these really small ones, and I really like the Breloom toy in that. Plus I just think it's a fun design. It's a mushroom kangaroo dinosaur thing that punches with stretchy arms, and it's just really cool, so I think Breloom is definitely my favourite Gen 3 Pokemon. But when it came to drawing these, I was nervous at first, but then got a bit confident, and then also struggled a bit later on as well. The starters were all pretty easy and good for me. I'm pretty confident in all of them. Swampert is, as I mentioned, my favourite. But what I struggled with most, especially, and was surprising to me with this bunch, was the bug Pokemon. Like, I just really couldn't nail them. Beautifly, I struggled. It was just a butterfly, essentially. I didn't really know a way to make it look good stylized or what specific features it had. It was just a generic butterfly. Masquerain was also difficult. I know it's designed pretty well, but stylizing it was tricky for me. Nincada, Ninjask, and Shedinja. Shedinja I got the best out of the three, but Ninjask I just had no idea. It's a really detailed design, and I didn't know where to start with it. Nincada, I kind of knew what I was doing, but I didn't know the specific intricacies of it. Even Volbeat and Illumise, I mean, who even remembers those Pokemon or uses them, so they were obviously quite hard because they're just not memorable. And Vibrava. I'm a big fan of the Flagon line, I think it's super cool, but Vibrava was just especially hard. It's this kind of weird middle ground between Flagon, which is more dragon-like, and Trapinch, which is so unique. I just kept kind of picturing Yanma in my head, and that's kind of what Vibrava looked like when I drew it in the end there. And then even Anorith and Armaldo, they're Pokemon that I really like and have used before, but I just couldn't get their patterns and colours down. I got their designs pretty accurately in the shape of them, but those parts were really tricky. But the least accurate overall would probably have to be Camerupt and Milotic. Camerupt, I just really didn't know what to do even from that initial sketch. It was barely on there. And I just kind of drew like a weird horse with lumps on it. It looks like that Minecraft mob, the sniffer one, because I couldn't figure out how to fit it into the space, and I also couldn't really remember what its design was like. It was really difficult for me. And Milotic as well, it's a big Pokemon, and it's based on an Owlfish, but I just kind of didn't really know what to do. I knew it had things kind of around its eyes, it had a long serpent body, and it had red and blue, but I didn't know where in the design, so it just doesn't really look like Milotic there. Huntail and Gorbis were also kind of difficult. They're pretty generic looking here, but they're also Pokemon that you never really think about. I realized that Gen 3 actually has a lot of Pokemon like that. There's a lot of weird single stage Pokemon that I think will get a lot of love in new forms in the future, because they've done that to Gen 1 and Gen 2 single stage Pokemon, so Gen 3 is definitely next in line for that. And I was pretty scared of the amount of legendaries with this region. This is the one that started getting a lot of legendaries. The Regis were pretty simple enough, I think I got their designs quite accurately, but Latias and Latios, I just didn't really know what to do for the patterns and colours of them. And Kyogre and Groudon and Rayquaza, trying to fit them into the small spaces was really hard. Rayquaza especially was hard because of how many details that guy has. He's just like barbed wire, but I think I did a decent enough job, kind of. Let me know how I went. I'd probably say some of my favourites here would be Swampert, Shiftry, Breloom, Loudred just because of his dumb face, Trapinch. I do like how I did Crawdaunt. It's not super accurate, but I think it's fun. I think Kyogre looks pretty good as well for a legendary. I'm quite happy with that. And Tropius, which was my least favourite Pokemon for the longest time because I have a funny story tied to that, which I might tell for a future day. But yeah, the worst would definitely be Camerupt, Milotic, and maybe Hariyama. It was kind of hard because Hariyama I know doesn't have a very distinct face. And Delcatty I especially struggled with, but I think I kind of got it in the end. Remember it had like weird boomerang ears and whiskers, but I didn't know where they started and stopped. But I think I was pretty close. Now, I think I will do Gen 4 in the future. I'm not sure exactly when. Maybe towards the end of the year. I'm pretty confident with those guys as well, since they are my home generation, the ones I started with and grew up with. I think from Gen 5 onwards is where I'll start to struggle a little bit when it comes to drawing them from memory. But I am pretty happy overall with how these guys turned out. Paired with the Gen 1 and Gen 2 batch, they're all really fun looking together. So let me know down below which were your favourites, which you liked, and if you want to see me do this again in the future, I'd definitely be down to do it more. And let me know which Gen 3 Pokemon is your favourite, or if you have any memories tied to the specific region, like I do. Hello again, I just wanted to say once more thank you for watching. This was a very fun video to make because I haven't had that much opportunity to do any drawing that's not video related, and while yes, this was still for a video, it wasn't just drawing myself, it was drawing Pokemon, which I enjoy doing, so it was really fun. If you did enjoy the video, then please do leave a like and a comment, or subscribe to see more. It really means a lot and helps grow the channel in a good, meaningful way. I've got some more big videos coming later this month, so please do look forward to that. And some even bigger news coming next month, so also do look forward to that. But yes, I will see you all on the next one in a couple weeks. Alright, goodbye!